What's going on, everyone? About 53% of stocks in the S&P 500 closed up in the green today, and there was a lot of bullish action all across the board as the S&P 500, Bitcoin, and a bunch of stocks cracked brand new all-time highs yet again today. So hopefully today was a great trading day for you, but even if it wasn't, that's okay. We have one more day left for the week, so let's end it on a great note. In today's video, we're going to talk about the most important information to know, like the FOMC interest rate decision that happened today and some of the craziest moving stocks right now. So stick with us all the way until the end, and Tom, let's get right to it.
Yeah, there really is no shortage of crazy movers here, and we'll get into those in just a minute. But the big event today that everyone was talking about was the Jerome Powell FOMC event. So guess what? They cut interest rates by 25 basis points, and I don't think anybody is even surprised by that at all. And the market actually had a pretty good reaction. Initially, the reaction was pretty slow, but as Powell spoke and as his press conference moved forward, it ended up popping up quite a bit. We saw quite a few stocks continue the breakout here. To me, Mike, the biggest thing that Powell said, of course, is that they're going to keep looking at the incoming data. There's too much stuff in play right now for them to obviously give a clear roadmap. So they're going to obviously keep looking at their current pace of cuts, and things could change. You know, they could end up pausing, and we saw some talks of, maybe them scaling back a little bit. And obviously they went for 25 basis points instead of 50 basis points, which was something that, was priced in, but that's something that obviously is still pretty significant. Now, one thing that I thought was very interesting is that during the press conference, they kept asking Powell if he would resign if Trump asked him to, and also they asked if Trump had the power to demote him, and he said it's not permitted under law, and he also said no, that he would not resign. But I thought that was pretty striking, Mike. I don't know how many more days Powell has left here.
Powell's been doing a pretty good job, at least with the stock market over the past couple of years, and I know Trump and him have definitely had their good times and bad times, and they were not letting off Powell at this FOMC interest rate decision today with the politics, and he was not putting up with that talk. Like you said, he answered, he's just like, no, I'm not leaving, and the market clearly didn't mind that at all, so that was pretty good to see. But as we look at just the market right now, like you said, or you could say Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve decided to cut interest rates, and this is a pretty interesting decision because the market is just booming right now. So when we look back at historical data and see, past situations where the Federal Reserve has cut interest rates when the market was super close to its all-time high, we could see there were 20 instances of this going back around 40 years or so, and it's historically been a pretty good thing.
Yeah, it really has. Look at the 12-month returns here. On average, we're talking about 13%, and the median's at 9.8%, and it's higher 100% of the times after 12 months. So that sounds pretty good to me, Mike. That's a pretty good stat going back that far. Like you said, back to 1980. So, actually, whenever you think about it, rate cuts, the market loves it, right? Especially in the short term. Everybody wants rates lower right now, and they're kind of doing what everybody wants. And I think that's exactly why the market is moving up in the way that it is. If they would have taken the more careful approach or something like that, I think we would see it drop. But this is some great stats. Now, I will say, look at the 1-month return, though. The average isn't quite as good, but when you get further out in time, it gets better and better.
Who doesn't love some money printing, Tom? Especially in a market sense. But yeah, so that's the interesting news today from the FOMC interest rate decision. But there was a lot of crazy individual stock movement in so many different senses. There were some stocks out there like IONQ that ripped to the upside. Even Lyft and OKLO and App and all these other stocks are just going absolutely insane right now. And essentially what we're seeing is, of course, a very bullish market, but we're seeing individual stocks really move in extra strong ways. Some of the hottest stocks in the short term are continuing to act in and build upon the momentum that they already had heading into the election, which is making just for some really exciting price action. And I know a lot of people have been doing very well with it.
Yeah, they have. And I know some of these prison stocks we talked about, like GEO, is up very well again today, 13%. They did have earnings this morning, but they continued very well once the market opened and kept blasting higher. That was a good continuation. And even the Bitcoin stocks like MicroStrategy, broke out again today. Another 5% move by MSTR. You can see on the daily chart just how powerful they're really getting here on this breakout. They'll be at $300 within just a couple days at this pace. There were some pullbacks, though, across the board. I did notice, like, Coinbase didn't have quite as good of momentum as MicroStrategy, but still there was some decent momentum there. And then we did have some stocks like Square, which reported some negative earnings tonight, which are some slight negatives whenever we look at some of the bigger movers out there. But, you know, we got to stick to where the money's flowing, right? And where's it flowing? We're seeing OKLO, OKLO have a ton of great movement in the short term. Even SMR had some pretty good movement today as well. A lot of these nuclear stocks are starting to do pretty well here, Mike. So I'm going to be keeping these on the radar, as well as Geo, and just, you know, the handful of these good movers here. Don't chase the ones that aren't moving.
Yes, exactly. It's like you have to follow where the money's flowing. Like you said, private prison stocks like GEO and CXW are like really getting some strong inflows right now for, you know, just the events that happened over this past week. But another thing that's worth keeping in mind is, like, in the same way where we're seeing like very strong bullish price action with a lot of the stocks we listed, it's very important to not like get left holding the bag. Sure, there's a bunch of opportunity and a lot of money to be made trading stocks like IONQ as they rip up by 34% in a day, but you know, these stocks aren't just going to be green every day. You have to make sure, like, when that trend slows down, that, you know, you cut those losses and protect yourself, because, you know, if you just bag hold like a setup that is, you know, changing direction, then, you know, there's a lot of pain that goes along with that. So, you know, remain adaptable and adjust and flow with these trend changes. That's something that's always very important. But just a minute ago, Tom, you mentioned Square, which reported earnings today. And as we are still in earnings season, there were a handful of other companies that reported after the bell today. One of the main ones being DraftKings, which, while I love this stock for the long term, the earnings reaction wasn't all that great.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't. DraftKings is down quite a bit in after hours. Kind of worrying here. It did start to come back just a little bit here, retested $38, but nonetheless, they're down quite a bit. And here's the whole rundown for tonight. We had Square, Unity, The Trade Desk, Affirm, Pinterest, which is down a ton tonight as well, reported. I mean, some of these moves are pretty big. I would say today, Mike, most of them to the downside from what I've been seeing, at least from the major ones that I've been watching for. So those will be huge to watch into tomorrow. And even tomorrow morning, we have Sony reporting, as well as CGC, which could be pretty big. I know CGC has been falling off from the election news as well, which is a slight negative. You know, of course, the marijuana stocks aren't having the best reaction this far.
No doubt. And like, whether you're looking at MJ stocks, earnings stocks, any hot stocks at all, clearly there are some stocks that are doing very well, like let's say Tesla in the short term. And there are other stocks like DJT that are getting demolished. So when you have this dynamic, it's important to keep in mind that we are entering a period of higher volatility for multiple reasons, and that makes for stronger, more powerful moves in both directions. So like, as you're looking at either DJT or Tesla or any other stock, understand that, you know, like I said just a minute ago, it's more so about like positioning yourself for like the strong trend that is currently existing in the stock and adjusting as need be. There were a lot of people who did very well with, you know, this recent big tech run up, and, you know, even the recent surge in DJT before the election. But those who did not, you know, adapt with those trend changes got, you know, they learned a hard lesson. So definitely keep that in mind as well. But looking at some more specific information going forward, we could see that we are in November, as we all know, but this is especially important because November is actually historically the best month of the year, especially over the past 10 years and in election years. So historically speaking, it's a good time for the bulls.
Yeah, let's go. I mean, we keep seeing good historical data, Mike. And what do we keep seeing here this year out of the market? Good price action and great movement heading into the end of the year. Hopefully, November keeps going at this pace because this has been one great start so far. And I know October wasn't even supposed to be the best during election years, and we actually saw that do pretty well even also. So there's just been a lot of good bullishness lately, and the market is just loving these all-time highs, Mike. And I would keep looking for them to continue until we start to see a true reason not to see the continuation anymore, or until we start to see some true rejections. I will say, whenever we talk about, like, let's say the SPY and seasonality, we always talk about our SPY analysis as well. We're getting really close to a major psychological level, which is $600. And I can't believe I'm even saying that, considering the level SPY was at a few years ago.
And as we look at SPY right now, 600 is a crucial level, but it is like a couple dollars away. So like for like the next like couple of trading days, what are the like other key levels to keep like on watch? I know that we're like the skies are pretty clear right now with SPY, as there's just so much bullishness, and like clearly because it's at all-time highs, there aren't too many defined resistance levels overhead. But what are you seeing in terms of like levels that might present a little bit of chop?
Yeah, definitely. Once we get to like $5.99, I'm going to be watching that one very closely, as well as that $600 mark. So both of those levels overhead will be something to keep an eye on for tomorrow. We actually mentioned $5.95 last night, and that ended up being a little bit of an intraday resistance on the SPY before it finally broke whenever Powell started speaking. So that ended up holding up very good there at that whole dollar mark while it lasted. But I'm going to really be watching that $5.99 to $600 area. Like you said, we're kind of in uncharted territory now, so there's not really too many bigger levels above there. Once we break 600, I'll be watching 602 and then 605 as we start to move. But of course, I do got to shout out the Bookmap here, Mike, because as we break 600, that's the first thing I'm going to be going to look at. I'm going to be like, okay, where are these sellers stacked up here?
There we go. Another thing that I thought was pretty interesting with SPY is that there was a good amount of buying pressure that came into the market as SPY was around that like $594 to like $594 and like 30 cent area. So definitely keep that level or that area close on watch for tomorrow, where if we do see a retest, there was some good buying action with that level today. And the main question is, will buyers be able to continue to hold that? So it's just like a pivotal level to keep in mind, because it was pretty strong today because there were multiple tests of the level throughout the day.
Yeah, there definitely was. I know 594 and 595, both of those levels had quite a few bounces, not even just today, but over the past few days, as SPY has gotten up into these new uncharted territories. And I remember last week we were talking about 585, right? Now we're all the way back up here. But the main thing right now is just making sure that you see the momentum continue. If we open up tomorrow and we start to see a sharp reversal or something around that $600 mark, you need to be willing to adapt. I know a lot of people are going to be overly bullish right now. Like Mike has said, don't get caught holding that bag if we do see a $600 rejection. And, we're telling you this before it happens so that hopefully tomorrow while you're trading, you can maybe identify that a little earlier.
No doubt. And then looking at the schedule for tomorrow, we do have some data coming out 30 minutes after market open for the Michigan Consumer Sentiment report. But realistically, this data isn't going to be like all that crazy. So there's nothing like too crazy on the economic schedule tomorrow. So let's get right into the fun stuff, which are some setups and predictions. A stock I'm watching very closely right now is PENN, P-E-N-N, and it is to the upside. This stock has been chopping around a decent amount over the past couple of months, and as just bullish momentum and strength is building, not only with this stock, but across the entire market, it makes the reward to risk for this setup better, in my opinion, considering that the stock is just like building more and more momentum, which is, of course, a great sign. What I really like about this setup is that it's still like pretty oversold in the grand scheme of things. This stock peaked around like $141 a share back in like March and February of 2021. And since that point, it has fallen from the heavens and it's all the way down to $20 a share. given that it is so oversold, it kind of changes the broader positioning in the stock, which is a good thing. And now that it is starting to show signs of building more bullish like momentum in a time when there's a lot of just strength in the market, it definitely is a stock that I'll be watching closely. And I would love to see the stock get back above that $20.50 area and just put consistent pressure on its highs.
Yeah, I love the setup here on the daily chart, Mike. It looks fantastic, and I love how it double topped recently, and we saw a good rejection, but now in the short term, we're coming back up where we might get that good test and finally a solid breakout to come in there. So that's awesome. With my first play, I'm actually looking at a play, and this might surprise some people, to the downside. I'm looking at Enphase to the downside. Now, Enphase it's another stock that's been stuck down in the dumps, Mike, but I hate to say it, with the election the other day, well, it's down in the dumps even further. So it's getting obliterated, to say the least. And I do have a nice target in the short term around $70. And we can see that on the Bookmap, that there's a big stack of buyers around 70. So for tomorrow, if we break under 71, I'm going to be looking to play it down towards 70 and possibly even lower. But just understand the $70 is a bit of support. So you might want to take some profits around there. But I'm watching these solar stocks down. It doesn't have to just be Enphase. FSLR is another one that has been falling off a little bit the past couple days, albeit though not as good of downside momentum as Enphase has had.
Yeah, and as you look at Enphase, that Bookmap shows a lot. There's a lot of buyers stacked up at that $70 level, and if you guys have not used Bookmap already, definitely check it out. It provides a lot more clarity as to like where buyers and sellers are actually stacked up at, and that tells you like the levels where the stock can change direction, among other things. So if you guys haven't tried Bookmap already, you can save using the StockedUp link, but overall it's a great platform, and we love you, Bookmap. You're the X-ray vision for the stock market. So definitely check it out. It's great, especially for these market conditions. Again, it'll be the first link in the description and the comments down below. But going further, another stock that is definitely on my radar is CCL, and it is actually also to the downside. CCL, Carnival Cruise Lines, has been crushing it over the past year, which is awesome to see. This stock has been up so much even before all of the election hype, where now it's up over 70% just from the beginning of August. That's a little bit of an overextension, and today we could see that there was a decent amount of selling pressure that came into play here. Not yet to the point where it's like, where it's like overwhelming, but we are seeing some weakening here. Given how much the stock is already up, not only like over like the past couple of weeks, but even just like when you zoom out further, I'm looking for like a mean reversion play here where we see a pullback. So CCL is definitely on my bearish radar, and I would love to see a pullback down to like that $23 support.
Yeah, that would be awesome, back down to 23 over the next couple days. I'll definitely be watching for that. That's going to be a big level I watch for, as that was one of those peaks just a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, CCL pretty overextended in the short term, as a lot of stocks kind of are right now. With my next setup, I'm looking at TTWO to the upside. And Mike, I didn't think I'd ever say this, but we had 2 Trump presidencies before we got Grand Theft Auto 6. I can't even believe that I'm saying that. 2 of them, and they weren't even back to back, to make it even funnier. But it's up 7.5% today, and I think this stock's a bit underrated. It's been going under the radar, but it's been recovering up very, very well. And of course, with Grand Theft Auto 6 coming out fairly soon, I think that there's going to be quite a bit of hype with this one. So I'm watching it to the upside, though, in the short term for more momentum off of this earnings move. And if we could break out above 180 tomorrow and hold above it and put that pressure on the high of day, that's where the short-term opportunity is going to be.
And I'm excited with this one. It'll definitely be on my radar as well, because its recent breakout above that like $170 area has been pretty big for the stock, and it's a level that the stock has struggled to break through multiple times already throughout this year. So yeah, I'll definitely keep it on my radar as well. And like you said, there are some like real world news and important events and things to look forward with this company. So good stuff there. And let's jump right into today's momentum plays. With the first one, we have XPEV to the upside.
XPEV did very well today, as did a few of the China EV companies. If we see XPEV pop up above 1470, keep watching for that good momentum.
All right, with the next one, we have GEO also to the upside, and this was one from yesterday that went pretty crazy.
Yeah, exploded. It opened today, broke above that $22 mark that we listed and did very, very well. And for tomorrow, we're going to be watching 24.80. So if we end up seeing a break of 24.80, watch it up. Have a little bit of carefulness, I guess we could say, as it gets to 25. That could be a decent resistance there as well. If you want to play it extra safe, wait for the 25 break.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Shopify also to the upside.
SHOP, right around $86. So if they're able to break that, watch them up as well. They were up 4%. It's not a 20% runner, but one of the stocks that is pretty consistent.
Awesome. So we have Shopify, GEO, and XPEV on watch for upside plays tomorrow. If and only if they break through the levels listed, the stronger and more consistent they move, the better the setups become because they build even more momentum that starts this bullish feedback loop. Either way, these three stocks are on watch for potential day trades tomorrow. Keep them on watch. And besides that, let's jump right into today's $455,000 big money trade. And we are looking at ticker symbol WMG. So looking at this stock, it had a decent move higher today, and it's been uptrending in a pretty consistent way ever since the beginning of September. Today, the big money bought the 34 strike call options that expire on December 20th of 2024. I will say this pretty clearly, this big money trade is riskier than most because of how far the options are out of the money and the fact that there's not a ton of time to them. So keep that in mind. If you are more of a safer trader, consider waiting for more price action confirmation or even a dip to buy. But looking at this setup, it's definitely a bold trade. It's not the craziest trade we've ever seen as it's coming in at only $455,000, but it is a bold trade nonetheless, and the stock did have a pretty good day, so we'll keep it on the radar.
Yeah, it definitely had a good day. And, this area that it's been consolidating at has been a big area of consolidation on this one, right around 32. It was a big resistance, and we're starting to actually see some pretty good movement up above some of these recent highs, too. So we might be seeing a decent confirmation, maybe up more towards the upper end of this range, let's say 34, if not even the $35 resistance overhead as well. This stock is pretty consistent when it trends. You can see how this stock will trend for weeks to even months at a time and have pretty consistent price action. Of course, there's little periods of pullbacks mixed in on the way up, but overall it has these pretty good uptrends. And right now it's definitely on the start, I would say, of a much larger one. But I'm definitely going to be watching it in the short term. And I think tomorrow, if we see another clear move back above $33, that might be some good confirmation like you were talking about.
Awesome. So we'll definitely keep this one on the radar. But before we move forward, we want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Chris Rodriguez, who had a great screenshot in the Profit channel today. So huge shout out to you, Chris, and keep up the great work going forward. It's awesome having you in the community, and it's also awesome seeing screenshots like this one. So huge shout out to you and keep on rolling. If you guys are new to the channel, consider obliterating the subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. In every single video, we cover the most important news, information, earnings, important events, chart setups, big money plays, and much, much more. And we post all the time. And if you subscribe, you'll get our videos recommended to you more often. So consider joining the Stocked Up crew. But looking at tomorrow, there's a lot of bullishness in the market right now, a lot of craziness and a lot of big movement, and that's not going to slow down anytime soon. There are a lot of things going on in the world right now in multiple different ways, shapes, and forms, and that'll make for a lot of big opportunities going forward. Prioritize smart trading habits above all else. Have stop losses for every trade you place. Know the reason you are entering trades, and follow the money among many other things. Prioritize smart trading habits above all else and watch how your trading changes. Besides that, thank you all so much for watching, and let's end the week on a great note.